Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that means it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. I am your host, Vince Venturella. Joining me, as always, is my own sidekick for the upcoming Holy Havoc tourney. That's right, it's my own little tourney teammate. It's Tom. How you doing, Tom?
Hello, friends.
Also joining us this week, a man who I'm sure in the community needs very little introduction. It's Russ from Facehammer. Russ, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Good to be here.
Absolutely. We are very pleased to have you on the show. We are excited. We know it's late there, so we thank you for staying up and hanging out with us here in the middle of a week at night. But we are excited to talk about tourneys today, and we couldn't find a better guest. Obviously, when Russ and I talked originally, I didn't know this was going to happen. But Russ, you just had a nice little win chalked up this last weekend. What happened there?
Me and Terry went to a doubles event. We got horrifically drunk, and we won the event, which is always a winner. So it's all good.
So, are those two things connected? Do you think?
I like to think so. I've not really put it to the test before, but apparently I play better when drunk. But so watch out.
It helps you get out of your own head. It's just you get into the game, you fall into the rhythm, you can just see everything. Yeah, absolutely.
And Terry was like super ill as well, so I was kind of like just feeding him Jaeger because that's basically medicine, right? And just saying, just drink enough of this, you'll feel fine. He did comment on Saturday his face was numb and he couldn't taste his pizza, so that was a win for me as well.
So what we're saying here is we have brought you literally the best person to talk about Tournament AOS in the world, because what we're saying here is that drunk and ill as a team, our guest can win a major turn GT. So there you go. That's what it is.
Vince, we clearly have something to aspire to in November.
Absolutely.
I expect to see some crack and skull shots going on.
All right. So we're obviously going to talk in detail about some tournament AOS later in the show during the feature segment. But of course, as always, let's kick it off with the news. So Tommy, take us away. What do you got today, buddy?
I have a lot, but I'm going to try to be quick, so we'll see how this goes. Obviously, the new White Dwarf is returning on September 2nd. We got a spoiler, which was a big battle report. Everybody knows that the sweet Chaos Lord is going to be not the Chaos Lord, the Corn guy that looks
Slaughter
awesome.
Priest.
There you go, Slaughter Priest. The alternate one is going to be in the mag, as well as, like I said, the big battle report. There's rumor now that the White Dwarf mini, the Grombrindle, is going to be here in the next week or two. And just previously, there's been talk of the White Dwarf having 9 boxed game rules in it. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So the rumor that just came out is that basically in the White Dwarf, in the new White Dwarf, and it doesn't surprise me. Clearly, they're going all out for this new White Dwarf, right? So it'll have box game special, new rules for 9 boxed games inside, okay, including Gore Chosen, Deathwatch Overkill, Space Hulk, Betrayal of Caliph, Lost Patrol, Execution Force. I'm not done yet. Silver Tower, Age of Sigmar, and Stormcloud Attack.
How big is this going to be?
Well, I'm guessing most of the rules aren't too big, but there you go. Apparently, it's going to have the rules for those things.
Well, Silver Tower is like 50 pages total, right?
It's pretty big. That's just it. I don't know if it's rules updates. I don't know what it is that's going on. Russ, have you heard anything about this? Any thoughts from you? Do you like the idea of all these just being packaged up, the rules there and available?
I don't know. I don't really see the point of having the rules in. I mean, if you want the games, you've already bought them, right? I think Gore Chosen is awesome, by the way. I've been lucky enough to be able to have had a copy of that early. But I don't know. I mean, maybe they're just scenarios and extra bits and bobs, so it'd be cool. Be cool to see. I'm looking forward to see the new format anyway, because it's been years since the White Dwarf's actually been any good.
No, that's a good point. I think we're all wanting to see the return. Like, the monthly format for me is what I grew up on, right? And I want to see that come back. I want to see those battle reports. I want to see those new scenarios, rules, armies, anything. Throw it in. Yeah.
So
It's certainly moving in the right direction.
yeah, agreed. Like, I hope that is actually, that rumor is not true. And like, honestly, and I hope what it is instead is that 9 different games will have articles, 4 to 5 page articles in there about expanded scenarios, expanded rule, like expanded elements for those individual games. That's what I'm hoping we see. Like a new encounter chart, for example, for Silver Tower.
Yeah, or maybe just some new monster
Yeah.
rules as well.
Yep.
You know.
Absolutely. We've got tons of, like, let's face it, if you're playing Warhammer and you've got Silver Tower, you've got tons of monsters of various types on your shelf probably, right? So why couldn't the tower be full of anything? It's a crazy Tzeentch tower of nonsense madness. Like, just have tons of rules for other monsters that could spawn.
Skaven raiding party.
Yeah, like just other random charts that gen other special monsters. It just, or you know, like use the when you roll, you know, on the table when you roll like the special choice.
Yep.
Just expand out that other options for the special choice instead of being just like flamers and screamers or whatever.
Completely agree. So more closely, I stopped into my GW store today, and it looks like they've received. They have either a new promo going or there's something new happening, and I haven't seen it reported anywhere, so we're going to report it. Vince, do you want to pull up those images?
Sure. Warhammer Weekly exclusive.
Dun, dun, dun.
Not really. This is going to be the most disappointing thing we've ever exclusivized, but okay, I'm ready.
Image.
It's not
Okay.
7 favorite paints, is it?
No.
No. No, it's even more depressing than that, if you can
Yes,
believe
it is. So this is a box, like a cardboard suitcase. And what it is that if you buy a starter set, and go to the next image, of either like AOS or 40K, and buy a new paint set, they are, instead of giving you a bag to put them in, they're giving you these cardboard suitcases. So in addition to like the 2 vouchers of $15 for like the starter vouchers or whatever. So there you go.
Warhammer Weekly exclusive. Yeah, you get a box.
You want to go get a cardboard box? There you go. Go to your GW store.
Doesn't the game come in a box?
It does, but now you get a box inside of a box.
Inside a box.
Yeah.
That was the fun.
It's a box for your box. And what I really like is how they give you something way more annoying to throw away than a bag. That's what I appreciate. Now I've got this giant box I got to figure out how to recycle and break down. Like, isn't that just great? Thanks.
Surely you treasure it forever.
See, if they were smart, they would have been like, oh, by the way, you know, for an extra $20, you can buy foam inserts.
Like,
here's a free box,
transport box.
And then upselling. You're like, here's a free box. Oh, by the way, we have foam inserts for these if you'd like to buy them.
Good plan.
I'm just saying, GW, get on it. Okay. In addition, Warhammer TV is going to be live streaming the tourney on September 10th and 11th here in a couple weeks. This is another kind of turn for GW's PR stuff, and it's awesome. It's fantastic. What do you guys think?
Oh, they talk about them
the live
streaming the event. Yeah, I think it's great. That's absolutely the kind of stuff they need to be doing, right? No doubt. Russ, obviously you're much closer. You could actually be there, perhaps, if you wanted. What do you think about it?
I am there. I'm definitely going to be at the event. I think it's great. It's a long time coming. To be honest, Magic have been doing it. You know, Wizards have been doing it for years. It's just nice to see that push from Games Workshop and promoting the match play. I won't use the word competitive, but the match play side of things. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be good. I'm trying to press gang to come to our event to cover that as well. So we'll see.
Nice.
It's absolutely true. Like, the Pro Tour, I can go on YouTube and watch any game that was played in a Pro Tour. There's going to be, like, they have commentary on it, you know what I mean, that they make. Like, there are people sitting there talking, like, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that, you know. I mean, it's almost like that South Park episode where they have the chickens fighting with magic cards. But, you know, it really is, like, a much higher level of social media awareness. So I agree. It's a very good thing. All right.
So this last week, we got the announcement of a new Christmas GW product. the new 189 paint set with and then also a 49 project paint set. There's talk that maybe you can customize the paint inside. There's going to be an extra large Chaos Black and Corax White, which is kind of an interesting, fascinating little ad. And the Citadel.
It's the tint set is what you're aiming at. I already know what you're trying to.
Yeah.
Yes, the tint set, which I don't know if we know what it is.
Yeah.
But what I'll say is that in color terms, right, this is a shade, right? It specifically says shade. Shade means a thing. The normal version of a color is shaded, turned darker by a darker color, the addition of a darker color.
Yeah.
It is tinted by the addition of white. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Moving up is a tint, moving down is a shade. Okay? So I don't know what that means. I don't know if they're using the proper term. Like if it's a lighter set of pigment or something, you can mix into your existing colors to lighten them. Maybe they're there to work with the existing paints. You want an even brighter color. Could be about intensity. I'm not sure.
I'm looking forward to it. So, but more than that, I called it. Do I get credit for this one?
Yes, you can have credit for this one, Tom. You called the obvious thing that they do every year. Way to go.
No,
I'm very
but
proud
like,
of you.
no, like 2 weeks ago, for our viewers of our show, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we talked about the new paints and all that, and I had made the observation that maybe what this is they pulled this stuff back, they've discontinued the previous set, and then this Christmas we'll have a new paint set come out with the Ultimate set, and literally like a week or two later, this news drops from GW. That's all I'm saying.
The world is a magical place full of wonder, Tom. Absolutely.
Okay. There's a new Blood Bowl kit coming, the Averland Knights. I don't think we have any images of it, but it's going to be awesome.
He's black and yellow.
There you go.
Or, well, greenish and yellow, really. Green, black. Yeah, it's cool to see. Here's what's really important about that to me. Okay?
Okay.
So we got an additional team announced, which is cool for Blood Bowl, which we know is coming, next year, at some point. But what's interesting about it is the name of it, right? It's the Averland Knights. Averland doesn't exist in the current. That's not a place anymore, right?
Not a thing.
Well, I spoke to the guys behind it at Warhammer Fest, and when we asked that question, we said, well, the old world's gone, right? So where's Blood Bowl? And they kind of said that it's still it's in like an alternate old world, so it's still Blood Bowl is still set in the old world, but not quite the old world we used to. So it's not going to be in the Age of Sigmar like setting, because that was one of the things we were really curious about. So I think it's that's probably why.
That is, and look, that's exactly why this piece of news is in there. I don't give a hoot, to be honest, about this knight or the color scheme or whatever. Here's what I care about. That should hit you like a meteor, right? That realization. Because I've talked for a long time about how it's clear that they don't always feel the need in releases to stick to the exact timeline. The Betrayal at Calth is the entire thing was an extrapolation of that, right? It's the 30K. It's like 10,000 years previous to the current storyline. So clearly they're willing to do these sub-games in completely different time periods and all that sort of thing, and this is the proof of that, which means that when Mordheim happens or anything like that, it can be all over the map, and you could get games set in the old world, some version of the old world, all over the shop. So for those of you old world junkies, you could still have things coming that will satisfy your need. So I'm just saying, warm up those needles, get your works ready, okay? Because you could be shooting some old world directly into your veins sometime next year. That's what I'm.
So you're saying there's a Bretonnia release coming?
I'm saying there's a Bretonnia.
I really hope not. I really hope not. Man, I was hoping they'd bin the Lisbon off, and they didn't. Sorry, Seraphim.
What I'm saying is that we are definitely getting a Bretonnia and Tomb Kings release. That is what I am saying.
So
Yes,
the final
correct.
round of AOS GW news is that Silver Tower, the FAQ released, and most people are like, yeah, whatever. There's a really significant fundamental change that actually shows up in that fact, which has to do with the respite. If any of you guys have played more than one game of Silver Tower, with the same characters, you'll very quickly realize that you are no longer able to get treasure cards after about the third game, because it becomes, if you have more than like 2 or 3 people, because it like manifestly becomes impossible, because you don't have enough, like there's too many skills on the table that every time you would roll to potentially search a room, you would always automatically generate an encounter. Like once everybody gets 2 skills and you have a party of 4, you're never seeing another treasure card from a search again. And so they changed the respite mechanics so that there's actually a possibility, a chance, as you get higher level, that you can still search for treasure. So, and there's some other neat fixes and stuff like that, some clarifications like on Etheric Surge and some other stuff that was super broken the way that it was currently running. So, yep, it's out there, the fact's out, check it out. Moving beyond GW news, 9th edition news, the TMS Kickstarter, or no, it wasn't Kickstarter, it was Indiegogo, maybe?
Correct, yes, Indiegogo.
Their campaign they successfully funded. They went way past their stretch goal, so if you want to buy into it, get in now. The Lost Kingdom miniatures is almost done. Their campaign ends next week. There's a new company in Dreams that has jumped in and is offering Sylvan Elves now. The first model's done. We'll have a link below if you guys want to check it out. And then there's another supporting company, Everstripe Miniatures, that have announced some Frog Warriors that can be used for Saurian Ancients, and those are dropping as well. So some Slaanesh.
What I love about this is the following. I like the idea that all these miniatures companies are getting made. Tom, I'm echoing into your computer, and it's killing me. Fix your stuff. There you go. Okay, so what I like about this is it's letting all these boutique miniature companies come up, and everybody's a winner when there's more miniature choices out there. So I think that's pretty great. These alternate Tomb Kings models with TMS, which are really cool. I saw the concept art from the Everstrife with the frog people. I love the idea of like little frog skinks. I think those are adorable, and that's most of what they're doing. So, I'm going to include links to all these different campaigns and stuff out there down in the bottom. So if you're interested in, 9th Age, or if you're interested in just, having some neat alternate miniatures for whatever game you're playing, check out those links down below, support those campaigns, because there's a lot of smaller companies that this is giving a great opportunity to make figures for. So, go out there and support these small companies if they're doing something you like. There you go. Yay, I'm not echoing anymore. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
All right. Anything else we had this week?
No, I think we're done with news in 20 minutes, 15 minutes?
Sure. We'll say 20. All right. So with that, let's turn it over to some pick of the week. All right. So, Russ, you're the guest, buddy. We're going to get a start with you. So this is where we share a blog or video or anything that we want to share out with the community, and then I'll put the links in the description below. So what would you like to share?
It's going to be pretty horrible. I've not really looked at social media for a week. But I'd say Scroll Builder. If you're not aware, all the General's Handbook stuff's on there, and there's some updates going in. I think they just added the artifacts and general command abilities in today, so it's a great tool for building your lists and just theory crafting your lists. So Scroll Builder, check it out.
Nice. Perfect. I will include a link down there to Scroll Builder. Easy peasy. That one's a simple link for me to remember. I like that one. So you don't make it complicated on me with crazy Pokemon videos like Tom. All right, so Tom, what do you got for me, buddy?
Yeah, so I'm going to go a little bit different this week. Skaven and AZ, a friend of the show, recently, a couple days ago, released a series of 3 or 4, actually 4, videos for Vermin Swarm tactics for 9th Age. One was on list building, another was on chaffing and setting up and like deployment and specifically on like the slave unit and just a bunch of different things aimed at the Vermin Swarm army for Ninth Age. And so for those that are interested in Ninth Age, I want to encourage you guys to check it out. He just did a really good job with the videos and just kind of covering and walking through the options and stuff like that. And so Scandinavia always does a wonderful video. And so, yeah, I just wanted to lift it up and make it visible.
Very nice. All right, my pick is very simple, and it just dropped today, and I think it's something hyper important and something I certainly know I myself fall down on sometimes. So, as many might be aware, Warhammer TV is doing their daily videos now. Duncan is doing these short little 1 to 3 minute videos, and the one that was released today was all about brush care. It's a short video. It's not going to take much of your time. I think it's less than 2 minutes. But it's a great thing to learn. They talk about it. Taking good care of your brushes, especially if you go out and if you're using GW brushes and you pick up some of the Artificer brushes that are expensive and very nice, or if you're using Winsor Newton or something like that. These are beautiful brushes that are not a small investment of funds. Take good care of them. That's what I would say. So I'll link down there to the Warhammer TV video. I think it's worth checking out. Like I said, it's less than 2 minutes of your day, and if you spend about that much time every couple days, 2 minutes cleaning your brushes, you're going to extend their life by months or even years. So there you go. Okay, so let's turn to some hobby time. So Russ, what are you working on, buddy? Are you getting anything ready for the tour next month at Warhammer World?
Yeah, I keep changing my mind. So like I started, I had some Beast Claw Raiders, so I got everything built and pinned and ready to be airbrushed, and I've just completely binned the whole thing off and decided not to do them. So now I've got some of these guys that I'm doing, which is a Blood Reaver. Obviously it's not painted. It'd be dry brush grey like the rest of my stuff. And I might be adding something like this in, which isn't Khorne, but hey ho, it's chaos, isn't it? So after the event this weekend, I'm basically back in the Bloodbound camp, but they fall down with no long range and no magic, so I'm adding in some of that and dry brushing that for the event. Also takes the pressure off me painting wise, and then I can focus on one of my other hobbies, which is online gaming, so I can do a bit of that. So there you go.
Very nice. I like it. I'm okay. If there's a Lord of Change at the command, then I think more or less anything's able to be on the table, because he's just tricked the other people into their fighting for him, right? Like, anything's explainable with Siege. It's fine.
Well, exactly. You just trick those warp lightning cannons into that Bloodbound army.
Exactly. Yeah. I had a 4-player, like we had a Dark Gods 2-on-2 showdown this last weekend, wherein we had a Slaanesh army. We had a 2-on-2 game, so I was piloting Slaanesh teamed up with Khorne, as you do, the two ancient enemies partnering up, fighting a Nurgle and a High Elf Phoenix army. And my explanation for that was that the High Elves had just been tricked by Tzeentch to show up and take his place. And that was, he's not putting his own stuff on the line. He's not that stupid. He just tricked some dumb elves to wander onto the battlefield. And there you go. The rest of Chaos showed up and was like, hey, wait a minute. Oh, well, let's fight. All right, Tom, what are you working on, buddy?
Well, I just got done with something. Do you have some images that I sent you?
Yes, Tom, I have your images. I will share again. All right, here we go.
Okay, you can close your eyes now, Vince.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go, Tom.
Thank you. So I finished my Glotkin finally.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a big achievement.
He takes a while. Like I was I was not pleasantly surprised. So, and I think there's some other images you can just cycle through as we're talking. It came out well. I took a lot of inspiration from. I looked at a lot of different Glodkins. Mickey Jenver, her Glotkin really helped me out with wrestling with kind of some of the color stuff and the transitions and just what to do with that. And yeah, overall, I like how it came out. It's interesting and different, and yeah, it was a lot of work, but it was good. So. So yeah. Oh, and there's the no butt flap Glotkin that our viewers requested.
There you
So
go.
I
he's
was going to
gonna
say upskirt shots a bit much.
yeah he's gonna kind of march out on the battlefield that way. So that's happening. But yeah, so got him done, and it's on to the next set of minis. So
There you go. I don't feel like he would be one for modesty, so you're probably okay.
yeah, that's true.
All right, awesome. For myself, I'm working on a Malifaux model, my arcane emissary here, who looks very much more yellow in reality than he is. This dude, he'll end up being probably a bit of a competition piece as well as for my Malifaux crew. Um, a lot of non-metallic metal, which takes forever. And also, the other fun thing I did this week, look at this. You know what this is? Yeah, look at that. You know what that is? That is
Yep.
a bunch of Hearst Arts mold cast in resin. So I did a bunch of resin casting this week, and you can't, it's hard to tell exactly what it is, but you can see like gates and ice crystals and little flour sacks and doors and barrels and buckets and all sorts of things that are going to become basing material. That's what that is. I just could, once you start, you can't stop. Casting is like Pringles. It's amazing. You want to keep doing it. I've got to get some more of the various accoutrement molds, so that way I can just have all the junk all over my bases. No more, never again. Just people are gonna have just nonsense everywhere. Full castles. That's what we're going for. I need to do some kind of knight-based army, but not like another Bretonnia, but maybe just where they're all on an actual castle. So if I just assemble the army on the table, I'll build a castle. That would be, I think, the way to go. All right. So let's get into the feature segment. So this week we're going to talk about Tournament AOS, and I think this is one of those things that, especially, there's been many people who have said and who have played in tournaments over the past year, but certainly the General's Handbook has given a lot of rise to it. Now, before this, there were still a lot of community comp systems. South Coast GT, of course, being a major one. I think Russ might have some thoughts on South Coast GT, perhaps.
Yeah, if you want to know anything about it, let me know. Other than it's dead now, basically. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not spending a weekend doing 800 war scrolls and balancing all the points. No more.
Well, there is going to be a question about that.
Yeah.
I think actually I'm going to sneak a question on you that came from a viewer right at the top about that. So we're going to talk through kind of the General's Handbook. We're going to talk through current tourney AOS, etc. But I thought maybe first, before we start, obviously, Russ, you had some involvement with the General's Handbook itself, but also with South Coast GT before it. So I thought maybe we'd start. Tell us about how you came to do South Coast GT, what all was involved in it, and how you saw, seeking out the balance and stuff like that, and how you feel the current General's Handbook system, aligns to it. That is to say, you know what I mean? How does it compare? That sort of thing.
Yeah, so South Coast, obviously we run that event every year. We want it to be the biggest event in the UK, and generally it is. Obviously, we had a bit of a problem with Age of Sigmar, as there was no foundation, as I like the word I like to use, for competitive play. So normally we take whatever the system is and we build on top of it to make it different, make it interesting, and shake up the meta. And people can't net list because it's not the same. But there was nothing. Obviously, there was some work in the community for the Clash Pack. So Mo, who sort of championed that very early on because he ran the first Age of Sigmar event in the UK, and we were on the emails a lot talking about how should it look, and we come up with this pool idea, which is based off the old South Coast pack where you had these power pools and fluff pools. So rather than buying individual models, you just buy a group of models, which just seemed to make sense, and it's a lot easier to point that than it is individual things. You start to go, I have to point a Gore fist over 2 Gore axes. It just gets too much. And so we built on top of that, but basically I sat down with Dan and we spoke and basically said, look, I want to have competitive scenarios, base off of the pool system, but expand the range of the points, because the up to 20 points in Clash is too small, because you don't get a 0.5 in one army and a 0.5 in another army isn't the same. It's just not. And then we had the problem where you've got how do I explain this? You've got no cross faction sort of balancing. So like because the Clash was kind of designed for you play elves, or you play high elves, or you play dark elves. We wanted to be Grand Alliance. So the problem is, if you don't cross balance, then you just go, well, there's no point me taking, I don't know, Blood Warriors. I'll just take Chaos Warriors because they're cheaper. So we were very conscious we had to cross balance rather than just focus on the faction. And he took a lot of feedback from the community, and the problem was he wasn't that invested in Age of Sigmar, so he was just going, oh, that sounds good, I'll put that in, and it just moved the goalposts. And then basically there was instance like Jack Armstrong at the Masters with 120 Saurus for 6.5 pool choices, which is just not brilliant, in a formation that makes them immune to battle shock and doubling their attacks. So that's balanced. So we wanted to build on that, and also the Clash missions were all most models. So have more models, you're going to win the missions because you've got more models. So when I sat down with Dan and said, with the scenarios for South Coast, they need to be fun. They need to be not like Infinity style, just very basic competitive missions, but they have to have. I wanted a story element, and we wanted that kind of. But we didn't want it to be a hobby weekend, like a campaign weekend. We wanted it to be a competitive tournament, but we wanted to sort of capture the essence of Age of Sigmar and sort of get some people frothing about the things. So we were looking at, putting a story behind it. So we come up with a rough framework. Wayne wrote some fluff as well. I edited it, changed it a bit. We reordered the scenarios. I had a very clear idea of what the missions were going to be, and then we just thought, well, let's try and set them in the different realms. Have why are you fighting? And if you wanted to, if you were a fluff gamer, you could come up with a story. You could like log the tournament experience, who you played, and almost like write a blog on it if you really wanted to. But that was the scenarios, and how you scored and how you won was the most important thing to do first. And then we basically sat and just discussed the War Scrolls at length, and just tried to balance them as best as we could. And we took Stormcast Eternals as our baseline. So we basically pointed them, and then every other army we compared to the Stormcast Eternals. The reason we took Stormcast is because there wasn't lots of janky rules with them. They were quite new. We kind of had a good understanding what they did, and we then just compared everything. Is that the same as 5 Liberators? No, they're slightly better. Well, they're going to be more than 5. And so on and so forth. And we didn't use a formula. We just looked at rules, speed, as well, movement, rend. All these things are hard to put in a formula. Yep. So I don't find formula work really when you're trying to point, but we basically put an awful lot of effort. I think I spent about 2 weeks writing the rules pack. So it was, but we had to do it because we wanted people to come along and have something to play, that's going to excite people. If there's no point just saying, oh, we take the same comp that's kind of limping along, we wanted to drive something and come up with something new. So that was the drive behind that, really, just to make our event as big as it could be.
Nice. So then, that all happens, and now there's the general handbook that obviously you get kind of drawn into the discussion of there at a point in time. So how did that all go down, and ultimately, how do you feel that the two came out? Like, you must be happy enough with the General's Handbook if you're not, keeping, you don't feel the need to still hold South Coast GT alive or anything like that. So how do you feel about your involvement and how everything shaped out?
Well, it was kind of last minute, if I'm honest. I had an email from a guy I know at GW basically saying, what are you doing on this weekend? We need your help. Can you come to Nottingham? That was all it was, basically. And so a few of us got the call. We've done a show on it, which is the Podcast Eternal show, which you can put a link to. But basically, we went up to Nottingham, and we had signed all the paperwork, the NDAs, back in March, I think it was. And then basically we were told, right, points are coming, competitive play, kind of foundation of how to build lists thing is coming. We want your help. They've seen what we did with South Coast. They wanted our input. You know, they knew that we're prolific tournament players. You know, Ben and Dan and myself and Wayne, we're all involved in running events like Blood and Glory, South Coast. We're all prolific tournament players. So brilliant. It's kind of the first steps where we started to see the kind of the cracks in the GW kind of like blackout of social media, and we don't engage with people, and it was quite refreshing actually, and really exciting. But we basically got to go to the Warhammer World, sit in the design studio, and Jervis walks in with his puts a load of paper printed out scenarios on the table, and we literally just ripped them to bits. And it's like, so we spent the day scenarios with the key point, because they took the points from different systems, but basically South Coast points was the basis of General's Handbook. You know, if you take South Coast times it by 20, you've basically got General's Handbook points. They didn't listen to everything we said, or everything we suggested. You know, it's here now. It's, you know, I'm happy enough that I can now, for South Coast next year, I can build on the foundation they've put down and make it cool and different, rather than having to build that complete foundation from the ground up, or maintain the one that we did last year. So I can concentrate on doing the cool missions, and you know, the comp, if there's going to be it, and secret missions and things like that, and I don't have to worry about I need to go and point the new battle tome that's come out, because July would have killed me with like 4 battle tomes coming out in 1 month.
Sure, absolutely.
Do you think that, like, how do you feel about that balance? Like you said, it's enough, but do you think that there may come a time where you don't feel like the point values are right? I mean, do you? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think they're right now, but points and, to be honest, points are never right.
Right.
It's all about context. So you'll play a game and you'll say, okay, so in this game, my Wrathmongers are amazing because I'm basically facing Archeon or Nagash or something like that. You'll play another game where you fight Stormcast, they've got no big heroes, they've got a lot of shooting, and Wrathmongers are just rubbish. And you know, so if you knew what environment you're in, the points would be different because they're more valuable depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And the same with the scenario. If you've got one scenario where you need a character to stand an objective, something like, you know, Alarielle would be really, really good in that scenario. So she should be really expensive. But then if you're playing a mission where you need 5 people to stand an objective, she's actually a bit of a hindrance. So that's the problem. You can't say that's the right points for that thing. But, you know, that's why independent events can comp and they can adjust the points. And I think the good thing about Age of Sigmar is it taught everyone that, yeah, there is a set of rules, official rules, but you are free to do what you want. And if you want to change it and you don't agree with it, then by all means, like, do your own points for your tournament you're running. If you really want to do that, go ahead. You know, and they're not, you know, nobody's going to say, you might not get many people attend because they've got to pay a whole new army for your event, but you know, that's a decision you have to make. So, but yeah, I mean, there's holes in it now. I mean, to be honest, you look at, like, for example, Destruction Battle Line, Savage Aurochs are the standout choice with the Bone Splitter book. You know, 2 wounds, you get 100 points, 20 wounds. You know, it's just a bargain. You know, compare that to every other battle line choice in the Destruction Alliance, and they're just a standout. But you know, that doesn't mean that people won't take, you know, Moonclan Grots, because they've got their own strengths and weaknesses, and they're pretty good too. And you know, it's swings and roundabouts really.
No, and I think that's really interesting. One of the things I really love is the idea of the foundational element. I heard, you know, Steve Ferner, who runs the tournament we're going to in November, runs Holy Wars in the spring, talk about the same thing on Twitter, that looking at it, it's so much inspiration for the foundational elements to build his own tournament packs, scenarios, rules around. It gives a lot to play with. And the thing that I appreciate more than anything, and I've said this 100 times, I'll probably say it 100 more, is that the book itself and the way it lays out those rules is very modular, right? And that use this, don't use this. You can They even have the little sidebar that's like, if you want to use the points but don't feel like using the Force Org because that's not how you want to play with your buddies, then toss the Force Org and just use the points to roughly balance things. And great, that's okay. You're playing the game right. Right? It's no longer that there's not sort of one hegemonic correct way to play the game, which I appreciate very much. All right, so now let's turn to some specific advice. This is where, Russ, we're gonna squeeze your brain. We're just gonna try to get all the sweet juice out of your brain. All right, here we go. This is where we begin. Okay, so what are you looking for? What do you look for personally in a solid tournament list right now in Age of Sigmar? Okay, and i.e., what do you value in your force selections? You're trying to build it. Now, obviously, we're going to assume kind of all else being equal here, right? Of like scenarios wise and stuff like that. And so things are like, how much do you value combat effectiveness or killing power versus, say, interacting with objectives, mobility, that kind of thing? What are you looking for in your selection?
For me, what I would say is all about context. So when I go to an event, I look at the pack, and if it's a standard General's Handbook pack like Warlords, then obviously that's quite easy because it'll become the norm. But things like the event of the weekend was very different. The scenarios were very weird. The secret missions were very strange. So we wanted to make sure we had the elements for that. So really, the first thing really is the rules pack. Read it, understand it, before you think about what you're going to take and what list. But in terms of strong elements for a list, I like combat. I've always been a combat player. I don't like sitting off and shooting people. It's boring. I like going in and ripping face off. So movement is massive in Age of Sigmar. It really can't be underestimated. And what I like to, probably people may not be aware, is the wave. You need an army that works in waves. So you kind of need your first wave, then you need your counterattack wave, and you might need a alpha strike wave, which is maybe the first wave. Then you've got your holding wave, then you've got your counterattack wave. So you want to look for defensive anvil units, chaff, sniper, what I call sniper units, which is what can go and kill key pieces. That might be a war machine. That might be Valkyria, because she's quick, she flies, she's got a small base, she can go in and take out that key wizard that's given the buff that makes the unit of Storm Vermin amazing. Your strikers, which are basically your units which can effectively get where you need to be, and that balance is what you need. So if you look at the scenarios and you say, okay, for Warlords, I'm playing Bloodbound, so I've already mentioned I'm taking Warp Lightning Cannons of the Lord of Change. The reason is Bloodbound want to fight in their territory. A lot of the missions force you into the middle of the board, which is good for Bloodbound, but if someone shoots me, I have to run across outside of my buffs, which I can't move and buff, which is the banners, to attack them. But I'm not particularly fast. I don't have anything to come on the back of the board. I don't have teleport shenanigans. I don't have war machines. If I play pure Bloodbound, I can do a Bloodletter bomb for sure, but that could be countered just with a screen of chaff. Which is so. The reason I'm putting the Lord of Change and the Warp Lightning Cannons is so I have a way to force them to come at me, which is what I want. I want them to come and attack me. So that's my mentality on that, and I think, well, who's going to stand on my objectives? Lord of Change is actually quite a good model to fly onto an objective and stand on it for the hero mission, where you need the 3 heroes, the places of power. You need quick units, so the Bloodstoker really good because it means your units are getting +3 run, +3 charge. You can guarantee your charge. Good synergy with the Skull Reapers for the re-rolling the ones to wound, so you don't worry about the Demon Blades. So I've boosted those up in my army because I'm focusing around the plus to hit mechanic with the new Allegiance ability, and Demon Blade suddenly working on a 5 rather than on a 6, and re-rolling to wound with either Mystical or with a Triumph or with the Bloodstoker. So all these things, if you think almost your army working as a cohesive force and what you might face. So originally I was going to take Beastclaw, and I thought it's very one-dimensional. It was, like lots of Stonehorns, as many as I could get in the list, and some stuff. Doesn't have a lot of bodies, so one mission would be really tough, which is the 5 models on each objective. But you can mine a victory that just by killing them. But also, some armies are very good counters to monsters, so I would be worried about facing those lists. So I decided to put that to one side, besides the painting requirement. and go with the Bloodbound to what I know basically. So, but yeah, it's kind of understanding how you like to play, what tools you have available, what you might face, the environment you're facing it in, and making sure you've got a balanced list. It sounds easy, but that's most of the game is the best bit for me, really.
No, I think that's really good because it also hits on a lot of the elements that I think are essential and people can often overlook, right? Of the idea, I think the wave idea, I think the fact you do still have to have some concept of chaff, right? Of something to get up and get in the way of having those anvils. I love the idea of strikers, of the ability to project power out there, right? You have to have units that can be fairly quick but still offensive enough to get there and apply pressure where you need. I think that's all really, really, really helpful and good things to think about. Here's my question for you. Why warp lightning cannons and not hell cannons?
Hell cannons are ridiculously expensive, and there's I think they're 400. I don't know. I've not really looked at them.
I'm pretty sure it's
300, 400. Yeah.
A warp lightning cannon is 180. It doesn't have a crew, so with a hell cannon, you just go, I'll do D3 mortal wounds on the crew. The cannons are now useless. Hell cannons are really good, but I don't want that much points investment. I want, having 2 warp lightning cannons which can do potentially 6 mortal wounds at 24-inch range with a 3-inch move is fine. That's all I need. I don't need hell cannons. Plus, I only have 1 painted. I'd have to repaint that, and I don't want to try and buy one. Easy choice. So I was like, well, I could convert something, but I've got like 2 weeks, so they're bit cheaper to buy the warp lightning cannons, and they were pretty good at the weekend for us. So nothing like rolling that one and going 6 mortal wounds. And then
there you go.
If you play Kairos, you just go, that will be a 1.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, no, that's exactly it. The reason I asked that isn't because I have any particular love for hell cannons. It was because I thought just showing the thought process you went through to make that decision would be fairly instructive, right, to people who on how you tend to think about those things and why you make one choice over another. And that's really good. The idea of being what it needs to, I think, is the best example, right? Just because something might be the most destructive thing doesn't always necessarily make it the right choice in that spot when you consider what you need to do, the role displaying, the points it costs, all these sort of things that create total value. So no, that's really good. And I love the point about the crew. That's very good. All right, so now it's time for some opinion time. Here we go. This isn't all opinion. Who cares? Whatever. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean, viewers. You know what I mean. All right, Russ. Russ's call. Here we go. What alliance is currently the strongest? What alliance is currently the weakest? Go ahead.
All right. I don't think this is a thing. That's basically it's going to disappoint everyone out there, right? So if we look at the scene that I play in, which is the UK scene, Order are particularly looking weak. And a lot of that is the better players aren't using Order. But then Jack Armstrong won the Masters with Order, and he's podiumed at events with Order, and he's been up there at South Coast. Obviously, General's Handbook's a completely different kettle of fish. I lost out to a Sylvaneth army at a one day I went to, and they're quite strong because they've got the teleport shenanigans, but nobody's really sort of got their army on the table yet, and because they've only just come out, so we've not seen it, and we've not seen many General's Handbook events. Death is really limited in its choices, but it's got some amazing combos, and it's got some really good artifacts. They're just nuts. We played a list at the weekend, 2 Blood Dragon vampires on Blood Dragon. That's the thing. That's not a thing anymore. But 2 vampire lords on Dragon, Zombie Dragon, with 10 Blood Knights. That was 2 lists, 1,000 points each. Both had the Cloak of Mist and Shadows to move 12 inches with Red Fury. Yep. So the first turn, they basically just YOLO into our army, delete half my Bloodbound army, and then we killed them. But it's like, they were up on table 1 in the last round because they literally were just smashing people with it. And, that's really cool. They've, definitely got those strong abilities. Flesh Eaters I've used to great effect. Some of the characters are really good. Arcan's really good. It's quite cheap for 340. But
Have you
again,
seen any Tomb King armies at the table?
oh, they're gone, man. Just let go. I don't tend to look at compendiums, like, because like for South Coast, I did this whole legacy thing, and I was like, they're totally just going to bin all this off because as a miniatures company, you can't maintain a big range of products. It's the problem like Corvus Belli's had with Infinity, where they went third edition, but if you look at like the products available and you're not familiar with the range, it's just a minefield. You're like, I don't know what an Agri Soleil is. I don't know why there's 5 of them. I don't know why if it's a new one or an old one. So I didn't see them maintaining the legacy stuff. They've pointed it, but I think you'll have events which just go, you can't use the compendiums. They're a separate pointing in the book, so who knows if it's here to stay. I mean, obviously, I'm a Tomb King player. I've played them. Maybe you don't know, but I've got about 7,000 points of Tomb Kings. I've actually got 2 shelves of them behind me, and I've played a lot of Tomb Kings, but I'm happy to let it go.
The reason why I asked
goodbye.
is because some of those units are very aggressively pointed for TK.
Yeah.
And so like that's why I ask. It's just from the raw power that's sitting in that list currently. That's why I was asking if you had stared any down.
I have played against it. I've played with it. I've played against it. They are good. There's some the really strong combos in there. But I mean, for me, if I was doing Death, I'd be focused on new stuff. Everything I do, I focus on the new stuff because I know that's current and it's AOS, and I kind of like to let the old world go. Although I had many years with it, I would like to embrace the new. So, but yeah, there's plenty of strong choices in the Tomb King compendium. Destruction probably have had the biggest boost with the General's Handbook because all the foot slog slow armies now are really quick, like stupidly quick, and it catches people out. People will learn, like when you've got units of brutes going in the hero phase D6+2, then they're going another D6, and then they're moving, and then they're charging. They can get from their deployment zone to your deployment zone on turn 1, and if you're not prepared for it, using clever use of formations like Iron Fist, just straight on your Cunning Ruck is amazing. If you're using Bone Splitters, or even if you're just using as your core, you go, well, my core is 3 units of Orcs. The Cunning Ruck is 60 points. The Savage Orc boss is 100 points. The Savage Orc boss is pretty good. He's a hero, and that gives me an artifact that I can now stick on my second Maw Crusher or whatever big monster you've got, because you've got a second formation. You've got formation, and it means all your core is 1 drop. So you got the choice of who goes first or who doesn't. So that's a really strong formation. It's made up of battle line units, which is perfect. Iron Fist is really good, especially if you're playing Iron Jaws, because your whole army, all your battle line is basically deployed with 1 drop. And if you take Godrak, you can bust that. So, like, Destruction have some really strong choices. Stonehorns are immense, absolutely immense. And then Chaos strong as well. They've got loads of strong choices. You've got Bloodbound are just amazing at the moment because people don't really know what they do. They just go, I'll just run into them, and then they're like, what? They attack me, and then I attack them, and they attack me again, and you made a save, and I take damage, and you've got how many attacks a model? Like, literally, as an event, and Alariel went into 10 Blood Warriors, and they just killed her. She killed all them, and they just killed her. And I was like, well, they've got 6 attacks a model, so you can go in and kill them. That's fine. And the guy with the blade basically did 6 wounds to her straight out. That was pretty gnarly. So and then you've got the Skaven, which the Skaven stuff really makes the Chaos strong. I think Zinch demons are really weak. Like Flamers are just ridiculously overpointed. Terry will tell you that Plague Drones are ridiculously overpointed, and I probably agree with that. Some things look really good, like Skull Reapers are ridiculously cheap for 140 points for 15 wounds, 4-up save, elite infantry, really good, especially with all the corn buffs you can get. Bloodletters are just crazy good now. Anything with a bonus on the hit roll, so you're looking at Blight Kings, Bloodletters, Skull Reapers, Wrathmongers, if you're taking the Bloodstorm formation, anything like that is amazing because you've got an auto guaranteed +1 to hit in your list. So you just go, well, I'll just pick a unit within 3, give it +1 to hit. And that's the other thing about destruction. You've got Battle Brew, and Battle Brew is ridiculous at +1 to hit and to wound. Okay, so I take my formation, which is my core. I take 2 Stonehorns. So that's both of the Stonehorns can have Battle Brew. Both are getting +1/+1. Then if I drink the potion, I get +2/+2. Basically, it's 2s and 2s on everything. Ridiculous. So there's so many good combos and so many good lists out there. I mean, it's not even mentioned how good Stormcast are. I've not seen anyone use Fire Slayers. I don't think they're particularly strong, but someone might prove me wrong. But that's why the game's exciting at the moment. Everything's just there's so much out there. I just want to see people come up with really crazy lists.
Yeah, so it's a good point. No, I like it. That's great. And you kind of touched on what my next question was too, which was, but let's restrict it down. Let's really drill in, because you kind of touched a few of them. So of the released sub-factions so far, right? So, Beastclaw, the Bone Splitters, Sylvaneth, Fire Slayers, let's say the 2 Stormcast individually. We'll keep the Extremists or whatever chambers separate from that. Bloodbound, what am I missing? Seraphon, who have I forgotten? What's that?
Pestilence.
Yep.
Yes.
Everyone forgets that one.
Yeah, because that didn't really out. It's like, yeah.
I don't even own that one. That's the only one I don't have.
I like to pretend I don't own one. He's over there. They're all over there. They're like in this area, there-ish. But I don't.
I think I've just telegraphed my weakest there. Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So what's the strongest and weakest for the release? Does Pestilence just win by default on weakest? You have any pain to get them?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. There might be a list in there, but I see a lot of the stuff's very limited. I think.
Do you think a combined list with it and Nurgle, with like Glotkin and the Frenzied?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't get my world wasn't set on fire by the formations. Plague Claws are okay, but you can put them in any army. The Corrupt is probably the worst Vermin Lord.
Yep.
Censer Bearers, yeah, whatever. Plague Monks, pretty junk. Why bother? You can just take Plague Bearers, are miles better. Or Chaos Warriors, Mark and Nurgle, Blight Kings. I mean, it's chaos. So why would you take Pestilence other than if you're going really Fiend, which is fine, and I'm not saying that's the wrong thing to do. And maybe there is a list in there that I haven't seen, but I just honestly, they care about battle shock. They're not very good in combat. The shooting's not brilliant. I don't know what they bring really, other than a cool Fiend army. Plague Sensor, yeah, okay, whatever. I don't know. And some of the formations are just out and out weird. There's one where you've got like a realm gate and you're like throwing the sensor through the realm gate or something. I don't know, but I don't even know if that's tournament legal. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure someone out there would be talking, I love my Clan Pestilence and they're amazing. Fine, tell me when you want an event and then I'll listen to you. When you've got a trophy, I'll listen. I think, to be honest, most of the books are competitive. Fire Slayers, I think, are quite weak because I think they're overpointed, the core, because they're 1 wound, which I think they should be 2 wounds. I think that might be partially my fault because they were pointed on the south coast, I imagine, because it was one of the early battle tomes. Despite being early books, Stormcast and Bloodbound are still very good. They have, Stormcast have been basically buffered out with the Extremist book. I know they are 2 separate books, but it's basically the same thing. Still Stormcast Allegiance, so it's all good. Beastclaw Raiders, I've done a lot of theory crafting on them. They have some very strong choices, but the biggest weakness is you don't have enough bodies on the table because your battle line units are expensive. So if you want to take Yetis as battle line, you've got to have a Frostlord on Thunder Tusk, which isn't the optimal choice because the Stonehorns are better for the pay an extra 40 points and you're basically doubling the wounds and you're doing a lot more damage. And I know you've got the ranged mortal wounds from the Thunder Tusk, but you don't need. You want your guy with a damage-free weapon in combat. You want your Frostlord in combat. Yetis are very good, I think, for the points. I quite like them. There's a lot of tricksy shenanigans you can do with their pile-in move. Mournfang, 200 points for 2. It's pretty expensive. I don't think you can compare one Mournfang to 5 Blood Warriors, or even, I just think you can get 5 Brutes for 180. I think they're just a bit overpriced. But other than that, characters are super strong. They're really quick. I wouldn't even bother using the allegiance abilities in the book. I would just use the destruction ones because I just think they're better. There might be some scope in it. Some of the formations are really good. And they do fit under General's Handbook. They're okay. I was looking at taking them, so they can't be that bad. Iron Jaws got a massive boost. I still think they're lacking. They don't have enough to them without going outside of your core. Bone Splitters, you can make some sick lists. We did a good show on that. We basically, me and Terry basically broke the book. But they struggle with Battle Shock. The combat power is not brilliant. They don't have big monsters, but they're really good at taking monsters down. Again, like some of the books, like Flesh Eaters, really strong, heals really well, but doesn't like being double turned, doesn't have some of the elements you need, like offensive magic or anything. It just doesn't have anything like that. It does a lot of healing, which is good, but it's not as strong in match play as it is in uncomped, because you can just basically grow units to stupid sizes. But they're good. I've used them a lot, and I've done well with them, but only when I put Morghast, Mongol, and Arcan in the list. So that's when the list became good. So it's kind of outside of subfaction again. Sylvaneth are probably one of the only ones that I think are stronger for being on their own. And I think they are, and Stormcast as well to an extent, because you don't really need. They're so versatile. You've got everything. And Bloodbound, they get stronger if you go outside. So yeah, probably only Sylvaneth and Stormcast, but it's my opinion. It's not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's what I think.
Fine. That's exactly. Hey, this is all opinion. That's what this show is.
Yeah.
I'm excited. You mentioned the people getting the Sylvaneth force together. That's what I've been working on here myself. Like I'm down to one unit of Tree Revenants or Spite Revenants, 1 unit of Hunters, and then a Lariel and 2 Treemen, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not, because like that's having gone through multiple Treemen, multiple Hunters, Revenants, Dryads, all that stuff. So
yeah,
should be pretty good here soon. I don't know why 4 or 5 Treemen is necessary, but I do feel that 4 or 5 Treemen is necessary. Yeah, of course it is. It's a silly question. Why would you not need 4 or 5 Treemen? It's insane. So
yeah, I think if I was playing Sylvaneth, I'd have 3 in Drycha, I think. Alaric can stay in a box.
I've got to convert Drycha. That is true. I forgot about her. I've got to convert her just because I do not like it's the only model out of the range that they released I'm really not a fan of is the Drycha. I can't get behind. Oh really? You love the power armor elf, the B armor?
Yeah, man. It's all about Sigmarines in space and and power trees.
I have no problem with that. I love my Stormcast army. I converted them over to be Bretonnians. They're all Grailcast. That's right, buddy. The Bretonnians live again. That's right.
I've seen some really bad converted Stormcast armies, but I've seen one where they've basically put orc heads on them. It just looked awful. Hey ho.
The Bretonnian Knightheads fit well, I promise. I wouldn't.
I'm sure they look fine.
Yeah.
You have to get some of those night questers.
Yes, exactly. All right. I did. I converted one of him up. He's over there somewhere. Anyway, all right. Let's move on. So, okay. So, coming off your last weekend, and obviously this is very relevant to Tom and I, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to a doubles tourney. So here's where this is called Vince is being selfish and wants your advice on the main difference in your mind between like a singles tourney and a doubles tourney, right? So what do you feel is different, other than the fact that you have to negotiate and carry your weaker partner, who undoubtedly for me is.
But that's the biggest point. You've got more ego around the table. So you've kind of got to be a little bit. I mean, see, everyone's there to have enjoyment, So don't go to a doubles and just take someone and be like, well, you be quiet, sit in the corner, because you're doing it wrong, and this is what you should be doing. There are times when you do have to put your foot down and say, what are you doing? Don't do that. But let people kind of play their own game as well. I think that's the hardest bit. If you're used to playing singles and you're trying to play competitive, you have to realise that it's a 4-player experience and everyone needs their time at the table. It's a bit like doing a role play. Everyone needs their time on the table doing something. What's good about doubles, if you're not currently engaging with one of the players in the other team, you can be chatting to the other guy, you can go to the bar, whatever, or do what we did and just pull out from the coolie bags the bottles of Jaeger and the Kraken and just pour the drinks at the table. But I think
that is happening, in fact.
So I think we had a bit of a bad game. Our second game on the Saturday, it was a little bit difficult. Actually, the guy's partner was actually getting a bit fed up with his own partner, so we were kind of face palming at different intervals with this one guy. But the game after, we decided to do 4 Jaeger bombs in a row before we started, which was a good way to start that. But it did break Terry. Terry was basically dribbling and dropping things on the floor, so I had to basically lead the game there. So I think doubles, I think, and this is at any tournament really, is just relax, don't take it super serious. If you want to sort of go, right, let's try and take like janky lists that complement each other. So like for the one we did, I took Bloodbound. I was going to take Nurgle, but I just went, well, actually, I'll take Bloodbound defensive wall, and Terry took Nurgle defensive unit. So he took Chaff, and he took the guns and the magic. I took the combat power and the sort of the spiky anvils, and that's how we wrote our list. And it worked out pretty well. But I think, doubles is a lot of fun, but it's what you want to get out of the event. If you just want to go and have a blast and have fun, then just go and don't care too much about the game and have a lot of banter and give your partner a load of abuse when they roll badly or do something silly and vice versa. But I think you kind of sometimes one person can become dominant in a team. So it's I can tell that's Vince. I can tell he's definitely looking at the dominant type there. So
very good.
you have to keep yourself in check a little bit. Remember that even if Tom thinks he's having input, that's enough. As long as he thinks he's actually part of the game,
helping,
and he's making, and it's important as well when they do something marginally good is to sort of well done, mate.
I will
do that with.
Well, if Vince does indeed dominate with his force, I'll feel pretty good considering I'm the one that wrote that list. So
I feel good about that. So let me take that. I'll take the notes. 1, establish dominance. I think probably I'll just do that right out at the start of the game in front of the opponent so they understand. 2, make sure every time Tom does something moderately good, I'll be like, way to go, buddy. You really rolled those dice. That was a good job. I'm very proud of you today. And I think we'll go from there. I think you've got the right ideas. I like where you're at.
And if their army's dead, then make them roll the battle round. That's what I did with Terry, basically 4 out of 5 games. So I did refer to him as the dice bitch several times. But his army was designed to be the chaff and just sit there and shoot. So it's a bit boring. But it was kind of, I said to him, do you want to roll the battle round? I said, no, you do something. Your army's dead. Have something to do. And there were some teams wanted to do like a double roll, like both you roll a dice, and I was like, no, Terry's the dice bitch, she's rolling it. I don't do things like roll the bat around, and if it goes wrong, I just blame him then.
That's a good point. You don't have to deign to do that. You have somebody. I have people to do that for me. Sure, I get that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, it's beneath you, really.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Tom, I think we've established what one of your responsibilities at the tournament. So that's
and get a dice cup because it's brilliant. There's nothing like slamming the priority dice down under your cup, then rolling, and then you picking the thing up. Unless you're Terry and you're drunk, and you're trying to slam it down, and the dice is flying across the table, and when you lift the cup up, you knock the dice. Then don't do it. So if you can't handle your drink, don't use a dice cup.
Gotcha.
Just go
See,
traditional role.
This
It's
is
good
all
advice.
really good insider advice right here. See, this is the kind of tips that we need right here. This is good stuff. Oh, all right, so here we go. We're coming down to the last. This is sort of my last big question, and that is, and this is where we're going to try to get to the heart of the matter. So here we go. What's your single best piece of advice for potential tournament players who want to perform well? I'm not saying win, because I truly do believe that like it's good to want to win. Of course, everybody shows up wanting to win, but I really, in my heart of hearts, believe you can't hang whether or not you're going to have a good time at the tournament on winning. There's a lot of things out of your control on that, right? Like that is to say, I think your goal should be to perform well, and at the end of it, feel like you did your best and performed and played well. So what's your advice for people who are trying to perform well, tournament setting, AOS?
I've actually got that in my notes, what you've just said, basically. Don't care about winning, care about competing. If you want to be competitive, that doesn't mean you'll win at all costs or you get nasty when it doesn't go your way. That just means you've given yourself all the tools you need to go to that tournament and potentially win the games because you've thought about it, you've prepared, you've understand the environment, you've read the rules pack, you've got a good list down, you've played some practice games, and relax. Just enjoy the experience, because the best thing about wargaming is the journey from I don't really know what I'm doing, I don't know how this list works, to learning how it works, and then starting to see the rewards of when you start to go, I always get beaten by, I had it in 6th edition, I always got beaten by Wood Elves. My Tomb Kings just got beaten by Wood Elves. And I remember literally, I was on mid-tables at a GT, and I played a guy from Norway with his Wood Elf army with my Tomb Kings, and I thought, not again. And then basically I won that game, and it was literally a great feeling, and I persevered. And I would seek out people like Ben Curry, who was prolific with them, and say, let's have a practice game on the Friday. And I knew that it's an uphill struggle, and I'm probably going to lose, but I'm going to learn from it. So, you need to understand you're not as good as you think you are. If you come from a little club environment and you go into a big event, there are going to be people there that are just better than you. Unless you're me, then no. But if you're a normal human, then when you go to an event, you're going to find that there are people better than you. Seek those players out as well and learn from them, and just enjoy the journey, relax. It's not about winning at all costs. It really isn't, and it's a two-person experience. I enjoy competitive gaming, but I have banter at the table. I enjoy my games. It's not about smashing my opponent and they go away with a sour taste, because, and I think this is the great thing about AOS, there's less of that with the rules. I wouldn't say like cheating, but being caught out. You've got a different take on how a rule should work, or you weren't aware of an FAQ, or how how does the lining and closing the door work. AOS is a lot simpler from a rules point of view, and it's a lot clearer, which allows the game to focus really on what it's about, and that's good decision making and tactics rather than rules knowledge and rules abuse, which is what a lot of top players in 8th edition were doing. So I think just understand your environment, read the pack, prepare a list, practice, learn. Don't care about winning, just care about competing and learning. There you go.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's really good advice, and I think that, so for me, I played competitive Magic for a while, and that was the same thing. Like, I showed up, you play the deck a lot, you build the deck, you tweak the deck. That journey that you're talking about was very familiar to me with that as well. So coming into wargaming, it's it was exactly the same progression. I saw that same experience there, right? And I feel it is the same thing. You always gotta, I think, staying positive in your game. The people who I really enjoy my games with, I find it doesn't really, don't get me wrong, I want to win, and I like the games where I win, but I've had good times, plenty of good times in games that I've lost, where I felt were very close, and I lost, right? Because I was competitive the whole time, and I felt like I was making good choices and stuff like that. And I think that's absolutely super solid. You got to hang your hat in the right place, which is, at the end of the game, you should walk away from it going, man, it sucks I lost, but I really did have a good time, it was close, I gave a good fight, whatever. Or when you won, you feel like you earned it. Right, it's not just like, oh, some dice happened to break my way. I didn't do anything. I just fell into this. Right, I've never gained any satisfaction from an accidental win. if you will, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think those are the best games, the one where they're that close and competitive, and they come down to just you both make good decisions. Maybe you made one poor decision during the game, or they did, and that was the difference. Or maybe there was that one swing of luck. But those are the games you will remember, the ones that are that close and are that. I mean, I still remember games that I had 8, 10 years ago that were like that. And those are the games that will stick. The ones where you just turn up and they don't really know what they're doing, and you just smash them off the table, and there is no competitiveness to that game. It's just like punching a ginger stepchild. That's not fun.
Right. It's just a cotton candy game. It's literally gone in a few seconds, right? I'm totally about that. For me, it's about having that memorable game, and some of that's bottle lightning, right? You can't really plan for it, but you can set yourself up to experience it. Be open to it. If you're staying positive, if you're doing that stuff, if you're planning well and having a good time and playing your list well, so you're not just face down in your scrolls or in the scenario pack every so often, you open yourself up to have that better experience. So I think that's really good.
And you could do that with balanced list as well, because if you take a really one-dimensional, like janky spam list, then you will have games which are really one-sided and boring, one way or the other, because you've decided to take a list which is one-dimensional. So it will be the rock, paper, scissors. If you don't take a balanced list, you will have games like that, and you won't have fun in some, and your opponent won't have fun in some. So you need to think about that as well, if that's your aim.
Oh, that's such a good point. Yeah, because if by skewing, you're naturally going to either skew to victory where you just cut right through them, or you're going to meet that scissors to your paper or whatever, and it's just going to be like done, right? And either way, neither of those outcomes are good.
No.
Yeah, I'm totally with it. All right, so final moment here on the way out as we bring the show to a close. Here's where we're gonna get you. Your prediction for your performance in September at the Warhammer World event. All right, where are you finishing? Let's go. Put it down.
First.
Yeah.
I've got to be arrogant, haven't I? I've got to be it. No. I've sent some lists around to my friends on Facehammer. So Byron and Terry and Les. I mean, not that Les really knows much about wargaming, but he's gonna hate me. Basically, I sent a revised list, and they just went, "How are you not going to win with that?" And I think the problem is with Warlords, there's a lot of unknown factors. So there's this really weird thing about they haven't really said how much a major and a minor victory is worth to winning the event. So they haven't actually defined how you win the event. They'll just say it'll be based on victories. And then they've got this thing about painting. If you get a nomination, then you get a minor victory. I don't know if they're tie breaks or if it's actually going to give you more tournament points. I don't know. So I can't really say because the pack is a bit ambiguous. And so because I can't see the context, the environment I'm going in, I can't plan for it.
Yep.
What I was going to do, I was going to take Beast Claw for a laugh. But because there's quite a long focus on this event, and also GTs are coming back next year, finally. I just decided, I'll tell you what, let's just take the filthiest list I can and see what happens. So
there you go.
That's the situation we're finding ourselves in. We're going in kind of contextless, and so we're just going to bring as much filth as possible.
It's the way to go.
It's fun to be filthy sometimes. Look, I love fluffy stuff, but sometimes you gotta love filth. There you go. All right, so you heard it here. So look forward to Russ being first place next month. You can watch the live stream, and you can watch the inevitable march toward victory for Russ when we see table
bomb now.
It's gonna be in your head, throwing you off the whole time. Like, oh no, I committed. Now I gotta win.
At least it'll be a good story.
There you go.
Yep.
All right. So for all of you out there, thank you very much for watching. Russ, any final thoughts?
Just if you're in the UK and you want to come to a really good event, Facehammer GT, we still got tickets left. It's going to be awesome. But yeah, that's it really. Thanks for having me on, and hopefully you guys can smash that doubles event.
There you go. I'll include a link out there for Facehammer GT. Fantastic. Because yeah, 100%. Tommy, any closing thoughts?
No.
Yeah, as usual, Tom. Just inspired wisdom. I'll tell you what. Why do I cut to you at the end of the show? You're the worst every time.
I am the worst.
All
I do
right.
that just because you cut to me.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We really, really appreciated having you on. We're glad to have you. You're welcome back anytime, sir.
Yeah,
And,
just let me know. That'd be awesome.
100%. And you know, when I get over to the UK, that's going to happen. I got to make the pilgrimage eventually to my personal Mecca. I'm going to look you up. We're going to get a game somewhere or something. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. We'll get
All
the
right,
whole
to
crew
everybody
down.
out there, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.